All right, so let's do Warren because I don't like Warren. Don't get me wrong. If it was between Warren and Trump, I'd vote for Warren, even though I don't think Warren would be Trump. Um, and I think she's a fudgy factor. I mean, this is the person who wouldn't stand up for Standing Rock after calling herself a Native American for God knows how long. Yeah, Pocahontas thing. And wouldn't stand up for Sanders when it counted in Massachusetts. And now she's screaming for my vote. Yeah, you didn't stand up for my interests before. Well, so why do you need my help now? Get elected without my help.
You know who else's vote she's trying to get now?
I'll get behind you after you win. I'll do that.
You know who else's vote she's trying to get now? I found this article today.
Darkies.
Women of color.
What?
Yeah, she's got some new policies out.
Well, the whole reparations thing in and of itself was a pitch for the black vote.
She's planning on... presidential hopeful and Senator Elizabeth Warren released a plan, lots of plans, on Friday aimed at closing the wage gap affecting black and brown women, part of a broader focus on income inequality as she and other Democratic candidates vie for the support of minority voters. She wrote a post on Medium that she would issue several executive actions to boost wages for women of color and open pathways for them to become leaders in the federal workforce. She said she would implement her equal opportunity executive order on her first day as president. Yes, slim chance of hell of that. She says it's time to build an America that recognizes the role that women of color play in their families and in the economy, that fairly values their work, and that delivers equal opportunity for everyone. She says she's going to issue an executive order to deny federal contracting opportunities to companies with poor track records on diversity and equal pay. Now, let me get into this because the way that she's doing this, she says she's going to prevent discrimination by banning federal contractors from asking applicants for their past salary information and criminal histories.
Wow.
Because women of color may miss out on employment opportunities more often than white women because they are incarcerated at higher rates. Hispanic women are in prison at 1.3 times the rate of white women, and black women are twice as likely to be in prison. Now, you had some thoughts about that?
It's
like
the criminal,
federal contractors can't ask for criminal history?
Well, it depends on how it's done. So if you're saying, I'm asking for the criminal history of somebody who's done pot, then yeah, I mean...
But how do you
know that without asking?
Like, I want criminal histories with, this level of offense?
Well, because the problem is, if I'm a company, I may not want to hire somebody who's a thief. It's nothing to do with your race.
That should be my right.
That should be my right. I think, if I'm hiring somebody, or I shouldn't be able to hire... I should have the right to not hire somebody who's embezzling money.
But I think what she's saying is that women of color...
Yes, but shouldn't that be the issue of fixing your criminal justice system that is putting women of color in prison at higher rates?
But this sounds better.
Yes, it depends. But again, it's always the implementation. Elizabeth Warren has all sorts of plans. I mean, she's a wonk. She's a policy wonk. She has a plan for everything. But in practice, the question becomes, what does she do? My issue is not so much that you create pathways for people who have prison records. That's not my issue at all. My issue is not even the race thing. The race thing doesn't become a factor for me. It becomes this issue of, if I have a company, do I have the right to say, I don't want somebody who was a felony associated with embezzlement on their record? And if you tell me that no, that gets a little dicey. It's like...
We're still about for federal contractor, so you as a personal small business.
Yeah, as a small business. Well, it depends on if I'm working with the government. I mean, small companies work with the government also.
No, I know.
I mean, now, if you're talking about bigger companies who are asking people for criminal records and this guy has a felony for drug possession, I don't want you denying that guy a job because he has a felony on his record for drug possession. But how do you know?
When an employer gets a criminal record, a criminal history, do they get to see the charges? Or do they just say they have a misdemeanor or they have a felony? Well, they ask, but then they also
go for a criminal
confirm
check.
that.
Yeah.
So when the background check comes back, do they get to see what the crime was? Or does it just say misdemeanor or a felony?
That I don't know. I do know that they get to see that the person had a record. The question is what?
And I do know that they also can tell whether or not it's a misdemeanor
or a felony.
But I'm curious to know,
is there more?
Do they see the actual offense?
Because do you get to see rape? Do you really want to have somebody on your staff that raped somebody? And if you're an employer, do you not have somewhat of a fiscal duty to know? I guess like a duty to your employees. It gets a little tricky. Yeah, it gets tricky. Like, let's say I have a company. Let's say I have 50 employees in that company. And as having 50 employees in that company, I have to hire people, and I have some of the responsibility to make sure that you come to work safe. That the person who's working with you is not a lunatic. How do I not do that? How do I not, like, don't get me wrong, I get it. I get the problems associated with it. If you say, you have some employers who are going to abuse that to say anything. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you were caught smoking pot. I don't care if you had a protesting arrest, like where you were a hippie and you were protesting, the Vietnam War. I don't care if it was that. I don't care what it is. In which case they would say, there are other applicants. I'm just going with those other applicants. Right. However, if you have a country that has a justice system that skews, we have four times the amount of African Americans going to prison for drug possession as opposed to, then right off the bat, you get a skew in your applicant base. Not only are whites, 60-something%, but you also have now the skew for prison record associated with color. I feel her implementation is everything.
Now, there is more than just that.
Go for it.
She says that she would also work to diversify the leadership of the federal workforce through direct recruitment at minority-serving colleges and universities. She wants to establish a paid fellowship program for minority and low-income applicants and start a government-wide mentorship program for Black and Brown employees. She vows that under her administration, her Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which enforces civil rights laws against workplace discrimination, would more closely monitor discriminatory practices in low-wage industries. She wants to bring in top talent to deal with claims. The commission would issue first-of-its-kind guidance on enforcing claims involving the intersectional discrimination that women of color face when racism and sexism intertwine.
I don't hate Elizabeth Warren as a candidacy. And like I said, when she is talking about domestic policy, she is often saying things that I like, especially in comparison to the other Democrats. I even find it to be amazing that the conversation we're having now is essentially stuff that Sanders.
Hey, that's what I said.
Have been talking about. Well, I'm just saying the main candidates who are going to be in the race are Sanders at this point and Warren. Biden is still there, but Biden is flaming out like big time. Biden lost like 10 points in one of the last reviews that I saw.
I think that debate kind of hurt him.
That debate kind of hurt him. Like, he was at a firm. He said, I was shocked that they attacked me that way. Then you shouldn't be running. Like, honestly, if Joe Biden was really shocked that they hit him on this thing, then he should not be in the race. Because that means he is politically incompetent. I mean, you made a major gaffe. You're in the Democratic Party. That Democratic Party is having a debate. The people on the stage, one of which is Black. You've been hit in the past saying you shouldn't have used outright racist in your statements of saying how awesome you can be, work in civility. How could you not know? And if you did not know, should you be running in the first place? My answer would be no. I don't hate Elizabeth Warren's policy prescriptions per se. I just don't believe her.
I think a lot of this stuff that's being done, if you weren't here earlier, we talked about how in the debates, Kamala Harris went after Joe Biden as the sole African American on the panel for the second round of DNC debates. They're going for the Black vote.
She is.
I really, a lot of this is an attempt to get the minority vote.
They are. They are. And I don't. Look, they saw the Hillary Clinton thing flame out. And if you remember, they were saying minorities weren't sufficiently loyal to Hillary Clinton to win. Blacks, they still voted like 90% for Democrat. And so this is their play of, we're not taking you for granted, dog. But that's
looking out for you.
But that's her.
Because Elizabeth Warren was she the first one that came out for reparations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was reparations that wasn't reparations.
No, I know. We're not going to go into the whole reparations thing.
I know, but just saying, what she was saying wasn't really reparations. I mean, the moment that you ask her, wait, you're talking about only descendants of slaves because we are talking about reparations? I mean, if you're saying reparations for the governments of Central America or South America where we're involved in coups and whatnot, that's different. That shouldn't take place here in America. That should take place there. We're talking about what happens to slaves and maybe even Indians, indigenous people. I can totally see that. I don't see it taking place in the real world. Now, but I'm saying, but that's not what she was pushing for.
Nothing.
Like, I gotta be honest, I think she's a squishy candidate.
Squishy. You always use that word. I think it's funny.
It means she doesn't hold her shape. It means that if pressure is applied upon her, she do.
I know what squishy means.
That's what she'd do. She'd be in the Oval Office. That's assuming she can make it to the Oval Office. I just think she'll fall apart. That's all.
Okay.
Not to mention, I don't believe anything that she's going to do because she's not talking about having a popular revolt. She's just talking about her by herself with policy. And I got to tell you, that's not going to go anywhere.
I don't know personally anyone that likes Elizabeth Warren. Everybody in the comments is like, no, it's a no-go. And also, just a reminder, if you want, I do read the comments, but if you want to make sure that your comment is read, you can always do a super chat. I found out a couple months ago, YouTube has been giving free super chats. Like I have $1, I think 2 $1 freebies that I can give. If you have those and you want to give a topic, you can give your free $1 and just put your question or comment after that, and we'll see the $1 and we'll read them out loud because I don't catch everybody's. But yeah, nobody's, according to the comments that I'm seeing, just kind of stroll by. Nobody's for Warren. And even the people that like talk to me that are like ill-informed or like, yeah, I don't really like her.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of hers either.